Hi, this is Miss Litton, and these are my wonderful AP biologists in their 7th period review over chapter 40. Say hi.
Hi.
All right, so first thing we want to remember is the difference between exocrine glands and endocrine glands. By definition, endocrine secretes into the blood and exocrine into some sort of duct. Can you be both an endo and an exocrine gland? Yes, give me an example. The pancreas. Somebody mouthed. Good job. It's an exocrine gland in the process of digestion. Boom, Max. And endocrine gland with what? Why are you being shy, children? You don't. Yes, you do. Endocrine gland, pancreas. What does it help regulate? Blood sugar. What are the two hormones? Insulin and glucagon. Be smart. You are smart. Okay. So you could be both. We talked about the types of cells. We talked about when you're secreting a hormone, it can be a full-on gland. It could also be just cells that are secreting a hormone-like substance too. It could be, we talked about chemicals going between neurons, like neurotransmitters. Are any neurotransmitters the same as a hormone? Yes, what? Epinephrine and norepinephrine, right? The neurotransmitter of the what? Sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system? Sympathetic. Of the somatic or autonomic? Autonomic. The neurotransmitter is epinephrine, but it is also the hormone that is secreted from the adrenal medulla that sits on top of the kidney. You got it, right? All right. And then neurosecretory cells, when we look at those, the neurosecretory cells, you're probably thinking about the hypothalamus, right? And how it controls the pituitary gland. Good. Have you reviewed this yet? No. Attack? All right. Nervous system, endocrine system, who works faster? Nervous system, good. But both help to regulate what process? Homeostasis. Whose effects are more long-lasting? Good. We talked about positive, and some of you are chatty right now. Focus more here. Positive, negative feedback as forms of control, and we talked about contrary, antagonistic hormones. Could you give an example for each? What's your positive feedback example? Oxytocin, right? Because as the uterus contracts, it pushes the baby's head up against the cervix, which increases the response, and you have even more oxytocin secreted. We also saw positive feedback with estrogen in the menstrual cycle. Remember that? Remember how we talked in the menstrual cycle? Who secretes estrogen?
Women.
Yeah, women. Good call. Damn. That's varsity. Okay. Good. Women from their ovaries, and in their ovaries they have eggs that are maturing, and those eggs are sitting within a starts with an F, follicle. And as that egg matures, why are you leaving us? No. It's okay. As the egg matures, it releases estrogen, which gives positive feedback to both the hypothalamus and the pituitary. Good. Which makes it secrete even more. Yeah. Negative feedback. Okay. Negative feedback would be, what would be an example of that? Think about hypothalamus, think about pituitary, think about thyroid gland. Not it. Explain it to your bio buddy.
Yeah. Basically, so if they get that, then if it increases, if it's too high, then we set something.
I don't remember these things, but like.
Yes.
What is that?
Oh yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. Remember this? Remember the hypothalamus? Full-on nervous tissue. Hypothalamus full-on nervous tissue regulates the pituitary gland. There's two parts to the pituitary gland. Which one is directly connected? Posterior pituitary. Good. Not directly connected is the anterior pituitary, and the neurosecretory cells extend as far as the stalk, holding the pituitary gland up. And in that first set of capillaries, you could secrete thyroid releasing hormone, which gets carried by the blood to the second set of capillaries, comes out at the anterior pituitary, and the anterior pituitary will then start secreting thyroid stimulating. And you'll remember, because release before stimulate, right? Alphabetical order, right? R before S, okay? So then you have thyroid stimulating hormone, which gets carried by your blood back to your heart, to your lungs, to your heart, out to your body. And at the thyroid gland, then the thyroid gland will start secreting thyroid hormone, which you now know regulates your metabolism. And as the thyroid hormone level rises, it will exert what kind of feedback on the hypothalamus and pituitary? Negative feedback. And this is a great example, classic example of negative feedback. Another one would be in the menstrual cycle. Okay, after the egg comes out of the follicle, what's that called? Starts with an O. Ovulation. After ovulation, egg pops out and the follicle becomes the... Hi, sweetheart.
Am I interrupting?
I'm just giving a review. Do you need me,
I
sweetheart?
was just wondering if you had any of the AP test forms.
Oh, I don't have those here.
Okay.
Those are at the student store.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye, babe. Hypothalamus will secrete gonadotropic releasing hormone. Gonadotropic releasing hormone, right, will stimulate the ovaries. The ovaries, once ovulation has occurred due to the luteinizing hormone, then the follicle will become the corpus luteum and starts to secrete the second ovarian hormone, progesterone, which helps maintain the uterine lining, and it exerts negative feedback on both the hypothalamus and the pituitary, so you don't enter another menstrual cycle until you complete the first one. Okay, so it's a way of regulating regulating your body. Okay, we also talked about, besides positive and negative feedback, we talked about contrary hormones. What's a really good example of contrary hormones? Sure. Insulin and glucagon, which helps regulate your blood sugar levels. Sure. Calcitonin and parathyroid hormone, another good example of contrary hormones.
Read the second calcitonin.
And parathyroid hormone, TTH. So insulin lowers blood sugar levels. It comes out of the beta cells of the islets of Langerhans, and then glucagon will elevate the blood sugar levels. And then your thyroid gland secretes calcitonin down now, which does what? Lowers blood calcium. And the parathyroid gland that sits on top of it will raise it. Good. Another example of contrary hormones. Yes, sir?
So what it says, it like lowers the calcium levels, that just means it's having bones.
Lowers the blood calcium.
Right, having stones.
Yeah, so the bones will absorb it.
And if it like wants to have a greater amount of calcium, where does it get the calcium from?
If it what?
If it secretes parathyroid hormone, it needs more calcium. Like
Where do you think it's going to get it from?
from the bones.
Yep, it's going to get it. You have things called osteoblasts and osteoclasts, which will build bone cells and also break them back down. All right, and then we talked about sometimes things can go wrong, so you can secrete too much of something. That's called hypersecretion, and too little is hyposecretion. Good. And then we said, why is it that these hormones, these chemicals, now we know how when two neurons talk to each other, they're so close that neurotransmitter is going to cross the synaptic cleft and only affect its neighboring neuron, right? But here's a chemical that's dispersed throughout your entire body. How come it only impacts certain cells? Because they're the ones that have the receptors for it. Now, are all receptors found on the surface of the cell? No. What kind of hormones are brought in through the surface? What ones go, okay, oh, you're saying go through the surface. Is that what you're thinking? Like, through the, okay, I'm sorry. In my mind, I was thinking something else. Okay, so when it goes through the cell membrane and the receptors internally, and when you receive that hormone, an intracellular receptor, that would be a steroid hormones, because steroids can move through lipids, right? And then oftentimes they will go with their receptor and act as a transcription factor to regulate protein synthesis. And steroid hormones usually take longer to work because they're getting all the way to the process where you're building a protein, so that takes a little more time. Whereas, what's the opposite, not a steroid hormone, but a protein or a peptide, water-soluble hormone? It stands at the door and knocks. It does not get to go in, but it could trigger a second messenger. The hormone is the first messenger, and it can trigger a second messenger inside, or it can allow something like calcium to go in and act as a second messenger. Oftentimes, the second messenger, besides calcium, some ion, is cyclic AMP. Remember how we talked about the G protein being activated, and then activating adenylate cyclase, and then that makes ATP become cyclic AMP, which triggers a kinase, and la 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 la. Ultimately, you have some glucose available to that cell. Okay? Questions about any of that? To me, those are the harder things. Just memorizing the hormones and what they do is fairly easy. But it's understanding how it's regulated and how it interacts with the nervous system is a little more tricky. A really good example where you can see the nervous system and the endocrine system overlap and how they work is looking at the functionings of the adrenal gland, right? Because you have the adrenal cortex and you have the adrenal medulla. And the adrenal cortex has what type, see how there's so much there just in that one? Because the adrenal cortex has what type of hormones? Steroid hormones, right? There's mineralocorticoids, of which you know one, aldosterone, okay, glucocorticoids like cortisol, and then cortical sex hormones. So when you study the adrenal gland, you can go, oh, okay, so that's a really good example of steroid hormones. And we know that the adrenal cortex responds to long-term stress, like the stress of a semester of school, right? And whereas the adrenal medulla secretes what? Adrenaline and noradrenaline, and those are protein hormones, and it's stimulated by the sympathetic nerves of the autonomic nervous system. Right? And that's for immediate stress, fight or flight. And noradrenaline is with anger. So there we can see the nervous system and the endocrine system overlap in the control of regulating how we respond to stress. Like what you're under now, I don't know. Are you just chillaxing? Do you need me to postpone your quiz?
Yeah.
Are you not ready? Are you overwhelmed this week? Have you had English tests? What's going on?
I had an English test yesterday, and I've got an in-class essay tomorrow that I have to prepare for. So.
You have an in-class test tomorrow that you have to prepare for.
Yeah, an essay.
So you're just feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I have an interview. That's not that.
Okay, but I'm not here on Friday, so then we'd have to do it Tuesday, the first day of the lab. We'd have to do it really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
But then your test is on Thursday.
That's good.
Well, that's good. That prompts us to review.
Tomorrow, let's get
That
out
would,
with it.
that would inspire me.
We're gonna forget everything.
I'm not gonna forget anything.
That's waiting like a
Or I can make it fairly simple.
That would.
And just get it over with.
Yes, please.
Or we got leave.
Let's make it simple.
Here, you want me to tell you what the downside is of postponing it? Listen to me. If you get it taken care of, you will focus your energy on everything you need for the test, like over the weekend and next week. If you don't take care of it, that will be your primary focus, is this one chapter when you have all these other chapters to prepare for. So I'm telling you, I don't think it's a good idea to postpone, but I can make it simple for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, I will do that. I will make it simpler.
Maybe I'll get number.
Okay.
Maybe I'll get number.
Lori, we're all rooting for you, babe.
I need 100.
All right. No. What?
Oh, yeah, it's Anisha's.
Oh, what about the shadow? The shadow, no. Let's pick an easy one to shadow. Oh, but I didn't tell it in class.
Oh, can we do chapter 6? That's really easy, Shadow.
Okay, let's do it.
Chapter 6.
I can tell my friends.
Let's do chapter 6. Chapter 6.
Let's do chapter 6.
It's a free point. It's a free point.
Chapter
What?
6. Can we do a chapter 6, Shadow?
What's
free
chapter
Enzymes and inhibitors. They're really simple.
No.
Competitive and non-competitive inhibitors. It's not hard.
I really do want to do shadows, but I didn't say anything in class, and it's unfair to me to throw the shadow on. It's unfair. Though I do like shadows. Maybe I'll do an extra credit shadow.
Ooh.
No, do it. Okay, guys. So much discussion in class. I don't know. The book, just the book. I'm just gonna randomly.
It's like human body. The next one is supposed to be 4.
Yeah. It's
No,
what
no,
is
Jake's stopped.
force the cell?
Oh, Organelle.
Oh yeah,
That'd
he's
be a
stopped
good
talking.
one. But nobody will know. I can't
Yeah,
stop.
nobody will know.
It defeats the purpose of everybody studying.
Extra
Okay, now, we went over this, we went over this, we went over this, we're done. Okay, when you look at a diagram like this, could you tell me all the things that are secreted from each one of these? Could you? Let's see how many we can deal with. Okay? So first of all, let's start right here. Okay? What are these things right here? Those are not. They're here.
Anterior and posterior.
What are these? The anterior and the posterior. Good. All right.
Yeah, which one's
Now,
guess the one in the
this
back
one's
is
kind of
anterior.
behind would be the posterior pituitary, and this one I guess we'll call the anterior pituitary. Now, the posterior pituitary, remember the 2 hormones that are in the posterior pituitary were put there by who? Who stored them there? Who controls the pituitary? Hypothalamus made the 2 hormones of the post-pit and stored them there. What are those 2 hormones? Oxytocin and ADH. Oxytocin and ADH. We know oxytocin as the what kind of hormone? Out. It makes what things go out? Babies and milk, right? ADH, still talking about fluidy type things because it's anti-diuretic, makes you reabsorb your water. Okay, now let's talk about anterior pituitary. What are some hormones from the anterior pituitary? What? GH, which is growth hormone, affecting muscles and glands. No, muscles and bones. What else? TSH. What is that? Thyroid stimulating hormone. What else? ACTH. What is that? Adrenal corticotropic hormone affects the adrenal cortex. What else? FSH and LH. FSH, guys. FSH doesn't matter if it's a male or a female, it's affecting your gonads, specifically generating sperm and eggs. Talking about sperm, of course, you walk in here. And then luteinizing hormone makes you ovulate, right? And for guys, what does it make you generate? It's your guy hormone. What is it? Testosterone. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any other ones? What triggered thyroid stimulating hormone?
Thyroid.
Good. What triggered FSH and LH? Gonadotropic releasing hormone. They're all releasing hormones. Remember, put in the first set of capillaries and it travels to the second set of capillaries. Okay? Keep going. Let me see. Come back. Okay. I have to go at like 3 to go pick up their Amgen supplies.
Oh, okay.
Do you need me today?
Maybe I'll wait.
Or do you want to call? Want me to call you? Want me to call you when I'm on the road?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Next. What do you want to do next? Start on the right. What's this? Thyroid gland. And what sits on top of it? Parathyroid. What is secreted out of the thyroid? 2 hormones. Calcitonin down now, which lowers blood calcium. What else? Thyroid hormone, which regulates what? Metabolism. Okay? So from your thyroid, you have calcitonin and you have thyroid hormone. What about from the parathyroid gland? Parathyroid hormone. What does it do? Elevates blood calcium levels. Okay? Let's go back here in the brain. Something's right there. It's not on this diagram, but you know it's there. Pineal gland. What does the pineal gland secrete? Melatonin, what does melatonin help you do? Listen to this man. He knows it. Yeah, why isn't he an AP?
Take the AP exam, Bill.
This is the way my zero period rolls. He just knows. Pineal gland, what does it secrete? Melatonin, what does it help you to do? Sleep, circadian rhythms. Let's go, what's this right here? Collarbone, what's wrong with you? Well, I think I heard it, what? Not thalamus, that would be right here in your brain. Thymus gland. What does the thymus gland secrete? Thymosin. And that helps you mature T cells, right? Alright. What do we have right here? Adrenal gland. And we have the adrenal cortex, which we already went over. What are the three? Mineral corticoids? Yes, aldosterone. Glucocorticoids? Cortisone. And cortical sex hormones. They're all steroid hormones for long-term stress. Right in the middle is the adrenal medulla. What's secreted out of the adrenal medulla? Adrenaline and noradrenaline for immediate. Okay, what's this thing right here? It's pictures right here. Pancreas. What is secreted out of the pancreas? Insulin, which does what? And what else? Glucagon, which elevates blood sugar levels. It's good. All right. No, we're missing other things besides these. What do we get out of here? Estrogen, which does what?
Builds the wall.
Builds the uterine lining. Build the wall. It's the Trump of hormone. It's the Trumpian hormone, estrogen. So fitting. And progesterone does what? Maintains the wall. Yeah, so who exactly is, okay, never mind. And then testosterone out of your testes. Prostaglandins, what can you tell me about those? They act swirly. That's the right word. Locally. Enhance pain. Enhances pain, so you know that there's a problem. How do I know I'm full? Fat secretes leptin. Leap away from the table when you have a sense of fullness. Your kidneys, what do your kidneys secrete? Oh, I know, renin. They secrete APBio. Remember those? Okay. Good. I think that's good on that. Look at this picture. You know them all? Diabetes insipidus, a little more water, right? Because you don't have enough ADH. A little trouble with growth hormone here. Uh-oh. Why do I have a goiter? I don't have any iodine. We know this. What's the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes?
Type 1 doesn't have it.
Type 1 doesn't have enough glucose, and type 2 doesn't respond, doesn't listen. Okay. Okay, then Papa. We did pineal, melatonin, we did that. Okay, here you go. I'm going to have to clear out some names, I think. Maybe. Possibly. Yes, I do. Be whatever. Just nothing rude. Don't be mad.
Got him.
Did you?
I dare you.
Nothing rude. The real goat. Build the ovaries. Weston, are you Weston? Or somebody else? It's like, I don't want to think of anything. I'm Weston. All right, here we go. 12 questions. And I'm gonna pause this. What a review today.